Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the January 24 meeting of the Islip Zoning Board of Appeals. Notice is hereby given that the Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, January 24, 2023, on the following applications at the times listed or as soon thereafter as they may be reached. At such time, all interested parties will be given an opportunity to be heard. When you hear your name, just please come up to the podium and state your name and address for our court reporter. Application number 41-23, Frank and Diana Ropelt. Permission to leave patio having rear yard of 1.3 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence AA District, east side of Millennium Court, 933.23 feet east of Smithtown Avenue, Bohemia.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Frank Ropelt. My wife, Diana Ropelt, she couldn't make it tonight, but we both reside at 27 Millennium Court in Bohemia, New York. I'm here tonight to explain that we do have a patio. It was recently installed, and one portion of the walkway is about 1 foot 3 inches off the fence line instead of the normal 4 feet. If you're looking at the survey, you can see that the area of the walkway that is in violation faces east towards the 50-foot barrier, which is town property, which backs up to Lakeland Avenue. The corner of the patio, which is in violation, is a relatively small section. It's about 64 inches long and about 41 inches wide. The contractor was unaware of the 4-foot setback in regards to installing the walkway. The remainder of the 15-foot walkway is compliant with the town regulations. Neither of my neighbors to the north or to the south of the backyard have issued any complaints that we are aware of in the structure, about the structure and the portion of the walkway in violation. We're asking for the zoning board to approve this relaxation. And I have some pictures that may help explain it a little bit better. The survey doesn't do that great of a job.
You want to submit the pictures?
Sure. I could bring them up to you. You'll see the measurements of the walkway that are in violation. And then if you look at the second page, you'll see 4 pictures that sort of show the overall walkway, where most of it is not in violation. It's just this one little triangular corner that's in violation.
Mr. Chairman, I suggest that this is rather de minimis.
I would agree.
Sorry,
We have a motion.
distracted each other.
There's a motion to approve the application.
Second, sir.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Application number 42-23, Domenica Shupak. Permission to erect one-story addition leaving side yard of 17.4 feet instead of required 18 feet. Total side yards of 32.4 feet instead of required 36 feet. To erect two-story addition leaving side yard of 15 feet instead of required 18 feet. Total side yards of 30 feet instead of required 36 feet. To leave driveway having side yard of 3 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence AA District, west side of Central Avenue, 1,529 feet north of Church Street, Bohemia.
Good evening, members of the board. John Bracco, architect, 111 Railroad Avenue, Sayville, New York, on behalf of the owner and applicant, Domenica Shupak. I'm here before you tonight in regards to minimum and total side yard setbacks for a proposed 1- and 2-story addition to the north side of the existing 2-story residence. The first and I believe most important point to make on this application is the shape of the property, which is a trapezoid shape. The house is parallel and perpendicular with the front or Central Avenue property line, which in turn means it is not parallel with the side property lines. If the home was parallel with the side property lines, the existing home with the proposed addition would be much closer to conformance with the required side yard setbacks. In addition, I think it is most important to note that the 15-foot side yard variance we are seeking occurs only at the very northeast corner of the addition. As the proposed new side wall continues back from east to west, it gets further and further away from the side property line until it ends in an almost conforming location at 17.4 feet, where 18 is required. If you look at the site plan that was submitted, you will see a dashed line running parallel with the north property line. That dashed line represents the required 18-foot setback. When I calculated the amount of the two-story addition footprint that is north of that 18-foot setback line, it equated to only 55 square feet. And the one-story addition was only 13 square feet north of that 18-foot requirement. We feel both these numbers are minor in nature. Both the 15-foot side yard and proposed 30-foot combined side yard equate to just under 17% relaxations. So again, we feel these numbers are well within reason. I would also like to point out to the board that this property has been approved for two prior side yard setback variances. The first dates back to 1967 and was for the original existing two-story home, leaving a side yard setback of 15.98 feet where 18 was required. And the second variance was from 2014, and that was for a rear one-story addition, leaving a side yard setback of 15.4 feet, again, where 18 was required. Yes.
I'm sorry. Chairman, I think these variances are rather de minimis.
I would agree. Yeah. I have an application to, motion to approve the application. All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Application number 43-23, Luz Nieves. Permission to leave driveway having side yard of 1 foot instead of required 4 feet. Residence A District, west side of Wicks Road, 150 feet north of Garnet Drive, Brentwood.
Good evening. My name is Luz Nieves. I speak Spanish. My husband, he helped me with English
Can you just
language.
please speak into the microphone so we can hear you?
Oh, yeah. My name is Luz Nieves. Good evening. I speak Spanish. My husband, he helped me. He translated.
So you have 1 foot instead of 4 feet for the driveway.
Yeah.
Correct.
We got a mean. We granted about a mean.
We, excuse me, sir, we no longer are the owner of the property right now. The property was sold already. We want to come with the courtesy and respect to show the respect to the town that we are willing to pay whatever it is to keep that foot there.
You have to pay it.
Pay us.
It's probably an escrow.
Yeah. No, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we grant this application.
I would second that, Liz. All in favor?
All right.
Application is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
so much.
Granted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's funny how your ears all went up.
Don't give me phone, don't take any money.
Application number 44-23, William and Amanda Cantwell. Permission to leave pool patio having side yard of 4 feet instead of required 6 feet, and patio having side yard of 1 foot instead of required 4 feet. Residence A District, west side of Cutter Court, 391.22 feet south of Viking Drive, West Islip.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York. We're here to leave permission to leave the pool patio having side yard of 4 feet instead of 6 feet, and the regular patio having a side yard of 1 foot instead of the 4 feet. It's just a small area around the barbecue that leads into the yard, and the side yard of 4 into 6 keeps in line with their stone walkway, just a small area around the pool.
Any questions from the board? Is anyone else here who would like to speak on this application?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor? Aye. Application is granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Application number 45-23, Israel Arana. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code, Section 68-602. Residence A District, north side of Lace Lane, 414.83 feet south and east of McGowan Lane, Central Islip.
Good evening again, Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York. We're here tonight to establish an accessory apartment. The property is owner occupied. The apartment is 734 square feet, and the driveway is pending approval. We are required to get a DPW permit for the apron and road repair, and during that process, we'll also be widening the driveway to fit the 4 cars.
So the application is subject to re-engineering approval.
Yes.
Any questions from the board? Anybody else here who would like to speak on this application? Do I have a motion? All in favor? Aye. Your application is granted.
Thank you.
Next. Application,
I don't want to leave.
application number 46-23. Renee and Maribel Medrano. Permission to establish accessory apartment resulting in floor area ratio of 30.9% instead of permitted 25%, and to leave driveway having side yard of 1 foot instead of required 4 feet. Residence B District, west side of Hilltop Drive, 165 feet south of Sparrow Place, Brentwood.
Good evening again. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services, with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York. We're here to establish an accessory apartment. The dwelling is owner occupied. The apartment is 568 square feet. And again, we are here for driveway approval for the side yard setback of 1 foot instead of 4 feet. And this application is also pending engineering approval. It does require a DPW permit for the apron.
Ms. Trella, if I
Yes,
could- if I could ask you, maybe you could help me out.
yes.
I'm looking at the application, and it says, permission to establish accessory apartment resulting in floor area ratio of 30.9. What is the existing?
So the basement, it's 30.9.
Yeah,
So
they're
there's,
not making any art,
they're not making any changes.
chopping it up.
Actually, so the basement, if it's used as recreation space, it doesn't get counted in the FAR. Since it's being legalized as an apartment, it now gets put into the calculation, which is why I brought it up to 30.9.
The bulk is not changing. If it were a higher, then it would start to question what we do with all the people.
But any other questions from the board? No, is anyone else here who would like to speak on this application? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Your application is approved.
Thank you. I'm leaving. Have a good night.
When the same person is standing there. Hmm? Oh, yeah. Application number 47-23. Lucian and Gabriella Pascu. Permission to erect roofed-over entrance platform 6 by 7, leaving front yard of 24.6 feet instead of required 40 feet. Residence A District, north side of Montauk Highway, 780 feet east of LaSalle Place, Oakdale.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Lucian Pasqua, I reside at 609 Montauk Highway, Oakdale. I'm here tonight to request approval of the variance to build a portico above the front door of the house. 6 by 7 feet.
The roof will be over the existing staircase?
Yes, sir.
So you're just extending the roof? So you're going to extend the roof?
Yes, we're making a roof above the staircase,
Okay,
above the front door.
you're just extending the roof.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Now, is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this application?
It's Oakdale.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Your application's been granted. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Application number 48-23. Matthew Basile and Danielle Malone. Permission to erect one-story addition 20 by 21.1, leaving side yard of 12.1 feet instead of required 14 feet. Residence B District, west side of Annandale Road, 386.38 feet north of Glen Summer Road, Holbrook.
Hello, Denise Trapero, DTT Designs, 1165 Broadway Avenue, Holbrook, New York. We are here requesting a 12.1-foot side yard versus the 14-foot required. It's for an addition out the back of the house, which follows the current 12.1-foot side yard that is existing there on the existing house.
Any questions from the board? Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this application? I am. So I would make a motion to approve this application.
I would second that.
All in favor? Motion carries. The application is granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Application number 49-23. Osman and Rosabel Velasquez, permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Isaac Town Code Section 68-602. Residence A District, east side of Freeman Avenue, 125.56 feet north of Apple Street, Brentwood.
Good evening. My name is Salim Ibrahim. I reside at 254-10 Francis Lewis Boulevard, Rosedale, New York, 11422. Good evening. I'm here to present the client regarding accessory apartment, about 424 square feet, just one bedroom, bathroom, and a small kitchen, and the egress is facing the backyard.
Celine, can you tell us again how big is the apartment?
424 square feet. So one bedroom, bathroom.
Any questions from the board? No, I don't. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this application? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. The application is granted.
Thank you. Have a nice evening. Be safe.
Application number 50-23, Michael and Kelly Batchetti. Permission to erect one-story addition, 10 by 20, leaving rear yard of 15.1 feet instead of required 25 feet, and to leave shed on concrete having rear yard of 1 foot instead of required 4 feet. Residence B District, west side of McCall Avenue, 140 feet south of 3rd Street, West Islip.
Good evening, Christina Bravin, Morano Expediting, 2938 Hempstead Turnpike, Suite 212, Levittown, New York. Requesting permission for a non-heated sunroom addition, it's a single story being installed on the rear of the home. And also requesting permission to maintain the concrete beneath the shed, which is conforming, the shed itself. The concrete holds 1 feet instead of 4 feet off the rear yard, excuse me. The home was built in 1941 and set back pretty far from the road, so they only have 25 feet from the house. The sunroom will be 10 feet from the home and 20 feet in length. And unfortunately, due to the layout of the house, this is the only ideal location. It's the only rear door, the only exit.
What do we have as far as customers?
I don't know if planning has any information on that. I don't have any requests for.
That's problematic. Significantly, reoperation. Think it's there without conflict. Chairman, I'm going to make a suggestion that we move the button. There's no TPA. I'm going to be bold to make suggestions, go back to the German and come back to some sort of altered plan, which is address the rest.
It's the smallest option that they have, and the only option that they have, given the layout of the home on the property size. Right, so it's a sunroom, it's not habitable space, it's just for them to enjoy the rear yard, just with a little bit of an enclosure. But in terms of just with a new project, a smaller size is really nothing else, because it's modular. So,
So, when you say it's not habitable, mean that, no, it's not insulated, windows, or the greenhouse, right?
Correct, it's a sunroom, yes. It can never be converted to habitable space.
So the aerial is a little misleading because the applicant owns the property to the north as well, as indicated on the survey in the files.
So they could go to the north.
Or explain why they can't.
That's a good question. I think they go to the north.
They don't have any other exit from the home, so they'd have to rearrange the entire interior layout in order to put a door to exit to get into the sunroom. So it creates a huge problem.
But still, as I said, there has to be grading to relaxation, no question. You know, and now I understand your client's position, but not every property we've been, it's not like just get the least burdens and option and good to go. Sometimes the properties are situated that, well, we see it all the time. You can't have food. That may very well be the case here. I don't know. I would suggest that you take some time and pull some COs on neighboring properties that see what are pretty close. And that will help you. Even though they may not have full pre-fire full history of work with it, it doesn't mean they don't have to CO. And it could also be very persuasive.
Understood. Yes, we'll take the adjournment if the board would grant it.
Yep, we'll grant the adjournment to an open date.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this application? No? All right, the adjournment is granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Application number 877-22. Christina and Ryan Pembroke. Permission to leave 6-foot fence having second front yard of 5.3 feet instead of required 10 feet. Residence A District, northwest corner of Bayview Avenue and Harriet Road, Bayport.
Good evening. My name's actually George Ringer. I'm the carpenter house right now. Ringer. I'm representing her right now. So we seem to have an issue with the fence being 5.5 feet away from the house, from the street. It needs to be 10 feet. We have 2 letters from the neighbor behind and the next door neighbor saying that this fence does not not obstruct any view.
You want to submit those into evidence?
Yes.
The problem with your 6-foot fence is that you hear them all the time and you cannot control. The town board, many years ago, determined that they don't want to look like the highway.
They did just remove. Now, what brought this to brought this to the town was they actually got rid of shrubs that were completely overgrown, and they cut them down to make the block look better. And
But you should have left the shrubs and not the left fence, because you can put shrubs as high as you want.
is there any other options that we could?
There's one letter here. 3 Harriet Road. Where are they?
They're the next block. They're behind.
The neighbor
So
to the
my
west?
fence, my backyard fence lines their driveway.
Right, okay, to the west. Here's the circle.
The only thing you really do is cut the fence down, or move it.
You got any questions? I would take a motion to reserve decision.
Motion to reserve decision.
We're going to reserve decision and we'll get back to you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So, Bill, and we're going to, again, can tell people that I'm trying to watch the street. And that's when they can hear me perfectly, but they can't hear me. So, you're probably going to pick up. I don't know. That's it, it's underneath.
No, so
Application number 51-23, William and Amy Savis. Permission to leave above-ground pool having side yard of 9.8 feet instead of required 10 feet. Pool deck having side yard of 2.1 feet instead of required 14 feet. Patio having side yard of 3.7 feet instead of required 4 feet. And shed having rear yard of 0.8 feet instead of required 2 feet. Residence B District, east side of Pearl Street, 98.98 feet south of Opal Street, Holbrook.
Good evening. I'm here for permission to be granted, hopefully, for the 4 items in question.
Can you please state your name and address for this?
William Savage Jr., 62 Pearl Street, Holbrook, New York.
When was this pool erected?
This pool and the deck and everything here has been, I grew up in the house. I bought the house from my parents. So it's been there for, I mean, the pool's been there. We just put up a newer one in the same spot, same dimensions, everything. The deck has always been there since I was a kid, probably 5 years old. I'm 44 now, so it's been there. It should be on the original survey. I think that's back in like 84 or 85 or something like that we haven't done.
I have a question concerning the pool deck.
Okay.
How high is it? Because it's 2.1 feet instead of 14, and we're always mindful. Yeah. I'm looking at a photograph of it now. We're always mindful of the fact that it's raised. It looks like it's at least 48 inches.
I believe it is. I think it's about 4 feet.
The problem is when you're on the pool deck, you're staring right into the neighbor's property. That
Yes,
is always concerning for us, and we rarely allow it.
I realize that, and
Good.
I mean, we are very neighborly very friendly with our neighbors and everything, and nobody's here to,
I understand that, but you could sell the house tomorrow, and it runs with the land.
of course.
And what is that? I mean, it's so close that when you're sitting there, you're looking smack into your neighbor's yard, and we're always mindful of
Understandable.
that.
Should that be on the other neighbor now for them to have the issue?
Wait, it's your deck. What do you mean it's their issue?
I understand that.
Wait,
I don't have a problem with it. I grew up, I grew up in that house with that deck being there for 40 something
I
years.
know, but
so-
you're on the high side looking down into the low side.
You're not in compliance. Your neighbor's
Yeah.
in compliance. You're not in compliance.
But my pool is facing the other way. I'm not facing the actual property though, if you know what I mean? Like when
No,
I'm
I see
on my
that,
pool
but-
deck, I go in the pool this way.
I know, but that doesn't mean that somebody can't look behind them. You're looking right into the neighbor's property. I don't think anybody walks up and says, okay, I must look this way. I may not look that way.
Okay.
So you're going to have to either take that down or move it to the other side so it complies.
So now moving it to the other side would put that deck directly in the center of my property.
I understand that, but it
Be in compliance.
will be in compliance. What it is now, it's so, listen, you need 14 feet. If you had 13 feet, we could understand, 12 feet, but it's 2.1. You're this far, and we see the pictures, you're looking right down into the neighbors.
Here's a better way of putting it, or not a better way, a different way of looking at it. You want the pool. Why should your neighbor bear the burden of having their privacy infringed upon?
Ooh, that is very good.
But
It should be
and
you that bears
that's
the burden by
what I
losing,
said before. Though.
by losing the center of your backyard.
But that's what I said before, though, to that gentleman right there. That isn't it? Shouldn't my neighbor, if they had the issue, be here, of me being up on top there, looking down on them?
But it's easy to say yes to a neighbor when you don't understand the practical impact of what they're asking for.
Also,
let's see if they still agree with that a year and a half from now, after you spent the whole summer staring down into their backyard.
Like I said, I've been there forever. They've been there for a while. It's, you guys make the decision. That's,
we have our nameplates?
why am I here for this? No, not at all. It all started from, I put solar panels on my house,
And now you try to
for
close
the
out.
CO, and that will not close till a survey and then everything else, yep.
But also, as you mentioned, the neighbor, it's your burden. You're the applicant. It's not their burden. So.
Okay.
You'll have to, I mean, I don't know if,
Do you want to take an adjournment and work on your application and come back to us?
I don't know what I'd have to work on. I mean, it's,
well, I think there's only one
is
issue.
there another option I could do other than taking it down? It's because it's been there for 40 years.
You move it or lower it.
Yeah.
Move it or lower it? What's the height that I'd have to lower it to?
That's why you'd have to take an adjournment to speak to someone about what you can do. 48 under 48 inches, right?
No, it'd have to be much lower than that. 18 inches.
18.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we, if I may, Mr. Chairman, why don't we decide the application? And if we deny so much of that application, then the applicant will just have to make it comply, however you want to do it. Lower it, move it, remove it. This way you don't have to come back again because you're kind of right on. Nothing's going to change.
That's.
No,
I don't know what I'm getting at.
you understand that.
Do you understand that, the option that he's giving you?
Oh, yeah, I have two. Either take it down or lower it.
We'll grant the part of it, and then we'll deny the other part, and you'll. have to
Okay, so the
comply.
other three that are on here, because there are 4 things on here total. So the 3 that'll be granted, it's just the 4th that'll have to be the pool deck, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Who's Holbrook? Is that you, Ed?
Yeah. So the application that I'm gonna make is to approve that portion, make the motion to approve that portion of the application that is for the above-ground pool having a side yard of 9.8 feet instead of the required 10 feet. Okay, then also the patio having a side yard of 3.7 feet instead of the required 4 feet, and the shed having a rear yard of 0.8 feet instead of the required 2 feet. That'd be my application. To deny the rest.
We're gonna a motion and a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, so the amended application's been granted. And thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Application number 52-23, Sadia Holding Court. Permission to leave, second-story addition having front yard of 20 feet instead of required 30 feet, rear yard of 9.8 feet instead of required 25 feet, and egress windows having front yard of 16.5 feet instead of permitted encroachment setback of 27 feet, and rear yard of 6 feet instead of permitted encroachment setback of 22 feet. Residence A District, northeast corner of Laurel Drive and Logan Road, Brentwood.
Good evening. I'm Nadia Mazaga, 6 Hunting Hill Drive, Dix Hills, New York. I'm here for Sadia Holdings. AHMADZADA. I am here requesting to leave the second-story dormer since it was approved in 2001, but it was never, the previous owner never closed the application. So I have the.
We can't read that from here. Just newsflash. If I can ask you a question, Ms. Ahmadzada. It says permission to leave second-story addition having front yard of 20 instead of 30 and rear yard of 9.8 instead of 25. So this was existing one
Yes.
floor and they just built a second floor without benefit of price.
Well, they did apply, the previous owner. Sadia Holding purchased the house like this. This was already built. So they had applied for the permits, but it was granted also, but it was never closed.
It couldn't be granted without
It's
zoning
right
board
there.
approval.
It went
No.
to the zoning board.
It
Oh,
is
we
okay.
went to the zoning
Yeah, it's in
board.
your hand.
So, okay, we're learning, I'm learning as we go on. So they just never closed out the permit?
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And here's the plans from 2000 and, I can't tell what year that says, but these are the stamped approved plans.
It's 21.
I don't know, I think it's. Is that the back? Is this the front yard or the backyard?
That is the front yard.
Where did this architect go to architecture school? Mr. Graham would never design anything that looked like that. Okay. But we're not an architectural review board.
No. Okay, do I have anything else from the board? No. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this application? Take a motion from the board?
I'll make a motion to grant this application in light of the fact that there was a prior approval, and this is simply an application basically to reopen the permit that expired.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's granted, application's granted. Thank you very much.
Application number 53-23, Sadia Holdings Corp., permission to leave carport having side yard at 2.4 feet instead of required 18 feet. Residence AA District, west side of First Street, 99.57 feet north of Fourth Avenue, Brentwood.
That's me again. Okay, this
Natasha, do you need a
carport
representation?
has been here since
You need the
1998.
address you have? I know, but I didn't know if you needed it.
Do you have any precedent for this? It's a rather significant 2.4 instead of 18 feet.
Yes, there is no precedent, but there is a garage, 116 First Street.
Do you happen to have a prior approval for this one too?
No.
That would have helped.
That would have been helpful, yeah.
Unfortunately, this is way too much to grant.
Do you have any suggestions in order to keep it? Maybe we could move it to 2 feet or,
Well, we
To
could maybe speak to our planning representative. Is there any precedent for anything?
The only thing that's closest is a detached garage.
No, it's not.
With a side yard porch.
No, that's a detached garage. There's nothing even close. So
I mean, we can move it to conform and how much.
you're gonna have to move it all, and maybe
What's
move
the-
it to the next door neighbor's property.
What's the closest precedent for carport?
Nothing.
Really? That's shocking. I'm sure there's a dozen of them.
I mean, there's a driveway on the other side of
Yeah.
the property.
Well, it's a fence and then, I'm not sure if there's a driveway on the other side of it.
Unfortunately, there's no precedent. There's not even something close. So I'm only speaking for myself. I don't know how this can be granted.
It's been there for 25 years.
You can move it to the south side of the house, right?
My eyes are kind of not great anymore. I mean, is that the house?
Yes.
So there is, oh no, there's two driveways?
Yeah.
Where is the carport?
It's on the right side.
It's on the north.
The carport's on the northern side, and there's a driveway right on the other side. And right beyond the driveway, it looks like that's that person's garage. So I guess impact might not be dramatic. Right, is that a garage?
The garage has been, converted. But the garage was originally on the left side of the house.
Can you can't move it to the south side of the house?
No.
Okay.
Motion.
Yeah, I have a motion on the application. I'm sorry, is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this application? No? Anything else from the board? Take a motion?
Unfortunately, I have to make a motion to deny this application. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, your application's been denied.
Thank you.
Application number 54-23, Erin and Derek Perino, permission to erect roofed-over porch, leaving front yard of 30.2 feet instead of required 40 feet, side yard of 7.6 feet instead of required 14 feet, and total side yards of 26.6 feet instead of required 28 feet. Residence A District, west side of Pine Acres Boulevard, 43 feet south of Chestnut Drive, Bay Shore.
Good evening. I'm Glenn Graham with Graham Associates, 256 Orinoco Drive, Brightwaters. On behalf of the applicants, I just handed up to the board the front elevations of the property. This whole project is just to create a new facade to improve the look of the home by creating a front porch with a small turret on the side of the house. The front porch conforms, so really we're just seeking setback relief for that turret. There is precedent a few houses down, and there's another precedent about 490 right at the 500-foot cusp. So there is 2 for the front yard and 2 on the side. Also, I have an aerial with a 500-foot radius showing about 57 homes, and it appears the 2 blocks to the west of the property all have 30-foot front yards. So this is in nature and character of the neighborhood.
Mr. Graham,
Would you like to submit that?
Yeah.
do you have precedent for, I know you said you have precedent. I didn't know, was it for all of the variances you seek, the 32, 30 instead of 40, and the
Yeah.
7.6 instead of 14?
Yes, we have a 28-foot on, 28.6 case 266-05. That's at 28 feet on the front yard. And then I have 2 cases for both 7.03 feet and, let's see, 7 feet even on the side yard.
Do we know the circumstances? Planning, do we know the circumstances?
I could-
If they were outright grants?
Yeah, 417-17. It was to erect a 1-story addition having a side yard of 7.0 instead of 14. And then I also have case 632-05, dwelling having a side yard of 7 feet instead of 14. We are not looking to do a dwelling, just an open-air porch, and it's only a small portion of the porch that encroaches. I could hand these cases up if you'd like to see them.
I have them, I just didn't look at them because they
Okay.
were porches. One of them was a story, 1 story.
Yeah, they're additions.
I'm sorry, you were saying, Deidre, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, so the first one that he quoted with the 7-foot side yard was for a 1-story addition, and then the second one that quoted was for a 2nd-story deck with stairs on the side yard of 7.
So let's look at the first one. The first one is an addition. This is a porch. All right, so this is less intrusive.
Yeah, it just bumps out and stuff for me.
Okay, and the second one was
The second one was a 2nd-story deck with stairs.
second-story deck. So that really doesn't even apply. That's, I don't know how we analogize that, but all right.
Well, it's a
So that means that's
second-story
probably a
deck.
Higher burden for you at least.
That's to look at.
Yeah, this is at the same setback, this is better.
Okay.
And it is architecturally pleasing.
Looks like a deer blowing. Is it still there?
Yeah, this was the one I was granted with the side yard of 7.
Oh, that's
This is
it.
precedent.
Oh, press it, oh.
Looks like Kontiki or something that Kontiki sailed in. Polynesia.
Waiting for a deer.
So Glenn, you're saying the primary part of the porch in the front yard meets the permitted encroachment statute.
Yes, that's correct.
It's the turret where it becomes a wraparound porch that doesn't.
Correct. And we're not seeking, we can condition it to never be enclosed as well.
And then the side yard is a roofed over porch as well. It's a wraparound?
No, that's just an open-air porch. It's just a decking,
Oh,
actually.
okay.
It's
So-
just giving them access to get to their backyard.
So it's, the call of the meeting looks worse than it is because the 7 feet is to the turret portion.
Yes.
And then the deck holds 11.5, so we're not
Yeah,
granting.
it's really just the turret that bumps out that little bit to give it that octagon shape.
So you have it hatched at 11.5 feet, that deck on the side, but it doesn't need the board's approval?
Um,
I wonder how high it is.
It's going to be probably about 3 feet. But we were going to the worst-case scenario because it's all deck.
Yeah, I think it only needs 6 feet if it's less than 48 inches.
I'm not as familiar with
Okay. All right.
mainland code compared to Fire Island.
Yes.
Yeah, if it's not BAA,
Yeah.
it's, I don't think this is much to worry about.
You want to add these conditions?
Yeah, sure. Sure, that's fine.
Does anybody, any other questions from the board? No. Anybody else in the audience like to speak on this application? No, take a motion.
Yeah. All right, so motion to grant the application on the condition that there will be no new interior space. It's front porch only, and it's never to be enclosed. Are these acceptable to you and your client, Mr. Graham?
Yes, thank you very much.
Fantastic.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
No.
Application number 55-23, Tulsidis and Amrita Kazarts. Permission to erect second-story addition 8 by 21, leaving floor area ratio of 29.53% instead of permitted 25%, and roofed-over entrance platform exceeding 3 feet in height, having front yard of 23.2 feet instead of required 25 feet, and to leave driveway having front yard occupancy of 49.06% instead of permitted 35%. Residence B District, south side of Half Mile Road, 100.67 feet east of Hawthorne Avenue, Central Islip.
Good evening. Thomas Bloor, the architect for the project, 60 Carlton Avenue, Suite 202, Islip Terrace, New York, 11752. The intent of this application is to repair the existing fire damaged residence, as well as add a rear second-story addition and covered portico over the existing front stoop. We're requesting a front yard setback of 23.2 feet instead of the required 25 feet to a covered portico. The home's an existing high ranch, so it has an existing raised front stoop, 4 foot 1 inches high. Any stoop over 3 feet is not a permitted encroachment into the front yard. As far as the FAR, as stated earlier, this house had a fire. In the process of repairing the home, we're proposing a second-story rear addition to expand the existing master bedroom. Therefore, we're requesting an FAR of 29.53 instead of the permitted 25%. Lastly, the home does have an existing concrete and asphalt driveway in the front yard with a front yard lot coverage of 49.06% instead of the permitted 35%.
We allow 40%.
Yeah, I did consult with Deidre Ryan, and I'd be happy to amend the application so what seems like precedent in the area, 40% instead of the 49.06.
Very wise.
So we're amending?
Yes.
Chris?
Motion to amend the application?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, amended application has been granted.
Thank you.
Now we have to vote on the application.
Okay.
itself.
I'm sorry.
Motion to grant the application as amended. I should have just done that in one shot.
That's the public.
It's all right.
Is there anyone else here who'd like to speak on this application? I'm sorry.
All right, so now, motion to grant the application as amended.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Have a great
Now
night.
the amended application.
Yeah.
Let me just do one thing.
Running like a well-oiled watch. This board. Tequila Jacks.
Application number 56-23, 85 Compass Walk LLC. Permission to reconstruct covered balcony on building occupied by non-conforming use, leaving front yard of 5.3 feet, second front yard of 4.3 feet, side yard of 6.7 feet, and rear yard of 4.6 feet, instead of required 15 feet each. Business 1 District, northeast corner of Compass Walk and Roadway, Robbins Rest.
Good evening. My name is Michael Dunn, DUNN. I'm the architect for Eric Sonberg and 85 LLC. This is property known as Tequila Jacks on Fire Island, a unique property on the bay that kind of sits out there by itself. And the owner does own the property to the east as well. We are asking to for side yard setbacks to rebuild the balconies that have been there for 40 or 50 years. They're
Are you
full-
rebuilding what was there or are you
Yes.
extending it?
No, rebuild what is there. They're needed for egress. They're falling apart. They need to be rebuilt. It's kind of a whole facade renovation that needs to be done on the building.
So
We're here
it's not-
because it's still a residential use
Sure.
in that commercial, in that business zone.
So you're not going 1 inch beyond what is?
No, if anything less.
It's going to be less or?
We're going to ask for the same.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions from the board? Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this application? No?
I'll make a motion that we grant the application, Mr. Chairman.
I will happily second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Application's been granted.
Said
Thank
Well,
you.
he has his own reasons. for
I
that.
spent many evenings in this establishment when I was younger.
Sunsets
So
right there.
It's a house.
No, it's.
Now it's a house.
Yeah, now it's a house.
Application number 57-23, Coastline Management Corp. Permission to install ground sign having sign area of 27 square feet instead of permitted 23.9 square feet, having electronic message center where flashing, revolving, moving, sound producing, or animated signs are prohibited. Industrial 1 District, west side of Lakeland Avenue, 503 feet north of MacArthur Avenue, through lot to Walnut Avenue, Bohemia.
My name is Bob Mecca. I am the owner of the property, and I run my business out of there since I built the building in about 34 years ago. Mecca, M-E-C-C-A.
And can you give her your address, please?
The address is 1580 Lakeland Avenue. We had an existing sign there. Unfortunately, 14 months ago, a drunk driver on Thanksgiving Eve took out all my shrubs, took out the whole front of the place. So I decided to update and maybe go to a digital sign. I had no idea it was going to go through, that we needed different approvals. The digital sign is going to be strictly for my business. I'm not advertising anything else, but we also, because of the nature of the business, we want people to be aware of a lot of green energy that's available to them with rebates, things like that. And that's really what I'm going to post on this sign. Making people, we do a lot of geothermal. We're a distributor for geothermal, and people are not aware of what's available to them. And that's kind of why I wanted to go to digital route.
Unfortunately, it's a prohibited use, and I don't know how we can grant it. We
What do
have
you-
to
how-
grant, we
but I
have
don't
to grant
understand.
it to every building and every business in the town of Islip.
How do you say it's prohibited when I go down the street and there's a firehouse that has a sign that's 2 times the size?
I'm glad you asked that. We have allowed, by precedent, we have allowed fire departments and schools and houses of worship, and that's it. I don't think we've ever granted a business, ever.
When I first applied, they had told me that this wouldn't be an issue at all.
I don't know who they are. We're the
Yeah.
board. You need our approval. Unfortunately, I don't think we've ever had an application. We have, but we've denied them. So, because we'd have to allow every single business in the town of Islip to do it, and it would look like, I don't know, maybe Nevada, Las
Well,
Vegas.
I disagree in the fact that, it's a specific.
Which part do you disagree with?
Well, the type of the road it is, because Lakeland Avenue is a commercial road. It's not like I'm putting it on. some
I know,
side
but we'd
street.
have to allow every single business then to do it.
Deirdre, does planning
Well,
have any comments
but-
on this?
But, I'm sorry, what?
It's not a sign that's generally being seen a lot, but the revolving kind of electronic signs. so you
It-
can keep them out.
It's just a message center. It's a message-
How often does the message change? Because that's the concern. It's motorist distraction.
I would do things seasonally, based on making people that they should change their filters in the summer for air conditioning. It's all basically green oriented. I would put,
Yeah, I think you misunderstood. What she means is how does the message change?
The length of the
on
message.
basis-
Cycle.
The cycle.
Does it like?
It depends. I could do whatever. In today's world, you could do whatever you want, you know. If
Well, what do
there's-
you typically do?
I don't know. I never had a digital sign before. You know, and like I said, I'm trying to, it's not just a promotion to the business. It's also to make people aware, such as a main street, of what's available today for green energy.
All right, take a motion to reserve decision on this.
I'll make a motion to reserve decision.
Second.
Maybe you should submit some information.
Okay, yeah, we're going to reserve decision, and if you'd like to submit more information for our consideration.
Well, it's pretty simple what I want to do. I mean, it's not.
You don't have to, but we
Oh,
give
okay,
you the
okay.
opportunity if you'd like to.
Yeah.
Okay?
I really didn't think this was a big issue to
Would you describe it as flashing and revolving and moving?
No, I just said it's not going to be a flashing, it's going to be a banner readout, because I forgot who I dealt with in your
Yeah, I think if you gave us an example.
department, but it's basically because of the sign. First of all, the sign that we submitted for is not a full sign, like even like your fire departments. Okay,
Maybe you could submit some better pictures or something.
Well, I get if you should have the pictures, because
But
the
it's a
top of
still-
this
it-
one, what?
He's not really getting the point. It's a still photo, so it's not showing us that it's flashing or revolving. or
Right.
moving.
Well, the still photo you have is going to be the top of the sign lit. There's only just going to be a banner below it, so it's not going to be a complete digital sign.
We're trying to help you.
Yeah.
If you can submit some stuff or some pictures or whatever else that would show us exactly what it's gonna be, it would be helpful.
All right. Good.
All right.
All right. I'll see if I can get something that has the separation. In other words, so it's like I said, I'm not just the whole sign's not digital. Okay, it's not going to be some flashing lights. It's basically a banner below the name of my company.
We're going to reserve decision, and we'll give you some time to
Okay.
submit. How long would you like to have?
I'll try to get it done in the next few weeks.
So we'll give you 2 weeks to submit additional information?
Yep.
If you have some literature from the company, that'd be fine, just so we have an idea what it looks
Give
like.
us a better understanding of what you're doing.
Well, okay, all right. I'll get something else. I did submit something, but if you don't have the clarity of it, I'll get you something better.
Please.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Somebody make a motion?
Yes, you made a motion.
Yes, to reserve.
Yes.
We made a good motion, too. Question our motion.
Application number 58-23, Josephine Jean Francois. Permission to leave two-story addition, 18.6 by 22.3, irregular, resulting in floor area ratio of 25.66% instead of permitted 25%, and to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Isaac Town.
My
Code
name is
Section-
Josephine Jean Francois.
1 minute, ma'am.
Thought everybody heard me. Pursuant to Isaac Town Code Section 68-602, with apartment having gross floor area of 821 square feet instead of permitted 800.
This is so good.
Residence A District, north side of Rigney Street, 388.37 feet west of Radcliffe Drive, Brentwood.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Josephine Jean Francois. And the property is on 115 Wigley Street.
Thank you.
Yes.
We'll take
Yes,
motion.
yes, Mr. Chairman, I believe this is very grantable.
This is my grandson going to help me in the English.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello, son. What's your name?
My name's Travis. We're here for permission to leave a two-story addition in.
Travis, if you could just state your full name and address, please.
My name is Travis Jean Francois. I live with my grandmother at 115 Wigney Street. Where he's seeking permission for a two-story extension we made
Thank you, Travis.
for an accessory in apartment.
Thank you.
May I make a suggestion? This is a very de minimis application. Why don't you let us take it from here? And if anyone in the audience is opposed, you'll have the opportunity to rebut their opposition.
Is there anybody else who'd like to be heard on this application? No? Take a motion?
Motion to grant the application.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion's been granted. Thank you very much.
See, it's so much easier than sitting up here and telling us why we should grant it, and we'll just grant it, right?
Yes. We need a,
It's for 3 years.
And it's for 3 years, Chris?
Oh, for a period of 3 years. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Application number 20-23, Guy and Jessica Pierre, adjourned from January 10, 2023. Permission to erect second-story addition, 12 by 22, and to leave roofed over patio 15 by 20, having rear yard of 23.9 feet instead of required 25 feet, resulting in floor area ratio of 37.2% instead of permitted 25%. To leave above ground pool having side yard of 7.7 feet and rear yard of 8.8 feet instead of required 10 feet each. Pool deck having side yard of 2.7 feet instead of required 14 feet and rear yard of 3.8 feet instead of required 25 feet. Shed having side yard of 3.4 feet and rear yard of 3.3 feet instead of required 4 feet each. And driveway having side yard of 1.7 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence B district, south side of Benning Lane,
Thank you, Jason.
449.91 feet east of Grundy Avenue, Holbrook.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Jeffrey Donlin, Maywow Design, 9 Brook Drive, Stony Brook, New York, 11790.
Mr. Donald, could you just please refresh our memories and let us know why the application was adjourned?
Yes, sir. The application was adjourned for changes that were to be made from the 37.2 down to a 32% FAR request, and also adjusting the canopy over the rear concrete pad, totaling sum of about 300 square feet, to be removed.
Did
So
you
there's-
adjust it down to 32%?
Yes, we actually, I just came in shy of that, but we're still requesting the 32%.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm misreading. It says, instead of required 25 feet, resulting in a floor area ratio of 37.2.
Next page, that's the existing condition. The second page in.
Oh,
is
no,
the-
that's the call, that's how the meeting was advertised. That's in the call of the meeting.
Yes, unfortunately, due to the 2-week time frame, the actual advertisement was not able to be adjusted. It was not able to be adjusted because the night before the ad went out, we left it the same, but we agreed that we would reduce it.
I get it. Yeah, we need to look at the rest.
Is there anything else on here on the call of the meeting that's different from what you
Minutes, 32
from
minutes.
what you're presenting today?
Well, the front porch is actually a portico addition, which we're doing the allowable encroachment up to 6 feet into the front yard to put the front porch on.
I'm
Which is,
asking, like, if there's anything else in the call that needs to be amended.
no, sir.
Yeah, because apparently we're going to amend the application, which it was,
Would that be? Not how
Yes,
it's called
yes.
out of the meeting?
I'm sorry.
So
Yes,
just let us know those two so we can amend it before you continue.
absolutely. Yes. The pool deck, after many discussions with Deidre and my client, we've agreed to adjust the height of the pool deck to under the permitted 48 inches. We're now at a final deck height of 44 1/4 inches, leaving one step over into the pool. We also have an option to remove the deck from its current location to bring it to the interior of the property, then respecting the side yard requirement by the pool and the pool deck. Of course, we would.
Another capital amendment. Yeah.
Okay, so we were very close.
Wait. Just 1 second. Let's do it in just short sentences. The First Amendment is to have a floor area ratio of 32%, correct?
Yes, sir.
And now, the Second Amendment is in just one sentence, is to do what?
To adjust the pool height deck.
To below 48 inches.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we amend the application as such.
I'll second
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so the application set's been amended.
Not exactly.
What else do we need?
Okay, you also have to remove the portion asking for the roofed over patio having a rear yard of 23.9 instead of 25, so that's removed from consideration, right?
Yes, that has been removed.
And then when you lowered the pool deck to below 4 feet, then your required setbacks don't have to be that for the main house. They no longer have to be 14 feet for the side yard and 25 feet for the rear yard. So the amendment would then reflect that the side and rear yards would only require 10 feet by code,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Therefore, removing that from the request for
Okay,
variance.
so we'll amend accordingly, not to worry.
Okay. Sufficient?
Sufficient.
Okay, so that amendment has been granted. Okay, if I may
Did we-
just,
Did we move to this modified?
Well, we should do it all together.
yes, okay.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we amend the application as elicited by Mr. Donlin, a fine architect.
I'll second
And all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so now the application's been amended.
Thank you, sir.
Let me just ask, Deidre, is anything here that, do we have precedent for everything now in the amended application?
I believe so. There's precedent up to 32.7%. The floor deck with a rear of 6.7. I believe you're asking for over 8 feet rear. There are 10 to, I believe 10 is required. So now it's over 8 feet instead of 10. The pool itself, I think you guys might have been thinking what's like the pool.
Yep.
Seems minimal. The driveway.
Thank you. Who is Cobra? Oh, that's Ed.
Yeah, the pool, you guys will
Yes,
that.
yes. All right, then no, hold on.
You offered to lower the pool deck by 1 step. So the fall remaining is still 2.7 instead of 10, and 3.8 instead of 10. So it's not too different from the prior application that you just presented. You then offered plan B, where he would just move it to the other side of the pool instead.
Okay, so why don't we,
Well, I just want to be sure you don't, see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Mr. Dahlen, you did say that you could move the pool deck to the other side of the pool, to the interior portion?
Yes, Chair. We had at length discussions about trying to leave the existing deck by lowering its height, but that would not be amenable to the board, nor would it be a wise choice at this point, considering that the nature of the additions that we're trying to get done here in a quick manner would be better to just shift the deck into compliance or very near compliance with it. It's a couple of feet.
okay, so,
If you were to move the deck, would it need variances then?
No, sir.
Okay.
so it's your application to amend the call the calendar referencing, among other things, the removing the deck from the application.
Yes, removing the pool deck.
So it'll be moved to a compliant location. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so now we have another modification to the application?
Yep.
So we'll take another motion on the modified application?
I'd make that motion to amend the application.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the application's been amended again. And now, is there anybody else that would like to speak on this application? No, any other questions from the board? No?
Yeah, I'd make a motion to approve the application as amended this evening.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the application has been approved to the amended application. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So say you.
All right. Anybody want to take a breather before we start? No?
No, let's go right through it. It's up to the chairman. You good?
No, I'm fine.
Yeah, all right. That's power right.
Application number 59-23, Lighthouse Shores LLC. Permission to erect second-story addition leaving front yards of 16.6 feet and 17.9 feet instead of required 25 feet each. General Service E District, west side of northern terminus of East Lighthouse Walk through lot to West Lighthouse Walk, Kismet.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Tom Licari.
One second.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, the chairman is just asking me about who the architect on the project is. We didn't have it reflected on the call of the meeting.
Okay.
So we're going to do it now.
Yeah, so I have to recuse myself.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You can do it. Oh, Ed's the, you're the vice. You,
Sorry, I wasn't aware who the architect was. I have to recuse myself.
He doesn't have to leave.
no, you could stay there. You can just
Stay
yeah,
there.
just keep your mouth.
Let's just get this on. I prepped the wrong guy.
You're right.
There you go. All right.
Good evening, Mr. Licari. Good evening, everybody. Thomas B. Licari, 127 West Main Street, East Islip. Just one technical correction, the setbacks were incorrectly stated. The correct setbacks that currently exist, 16.7 feet on the east side, which is on East Lighthouse, and 17.7 feet on the west side, which is West Lighthouse.
So are you going to make an application?
Application to amend the petition here to reflect 16.7 feet on East Lighthouse and 17.7 feet on West Lighthouse. That is the current setback.
Is there any motion?
Motion to amend.
Second.
Any
Favor, aye.
opposition? The motion is approved.
Thank you. All right. As many of you know, obviously I represent the applicant, and as many of you know on the board and certainly the audience, I'm a homeowner in Kismet. Been a homeowner since 1990. I did the Camelot Co-op conversion, then I bought our house, which is 200 feet from the applicant's property. I live on East Lighthouse. I'm actually friends with most of the people that have submitted letters, whether they're for or against this application. I happen to represent some of the people that have submitted letters against the application, and I still consider them my friends. My presentation this evening, I promise to be objective and respectful, obviously, to all, and I really do understand the concerns of the opponents.
Mr. Lecari, this is a significant relaxation, 16.7 and 17.7 instead of 25. Why should we grant it?
Okay. I wanted to first start with a brief history of Kismet, which I submitted several documents to you. I've submitted a package to each of you. The Botel dates back to the 1950s. The Botel really is an anachronism. What Kismet was at one point, what it has become now is a series of homes, many of which are up to 35 feet, the allowable height. Our height as proposed is 28 feet. There have been prior applications which have been denied to extend the footprint, 1968, 1972, 75. Change of zone was changed to a GSE, transitional zoning, on the east side of the Botel, which is what it's called. You have the dive restaurant. On the west side, you have the West Lighthouse folks. Sometimes we affectionately call that Park Avenue. Okay. The CNRs were put together after our hearing with the town on June 16, 2021. Change of zone, so GSE was granted. There was a negative CEQA, and we are here today on this application. The application is to reduce the side yards from the required 25 feet to 16.7 on East Lighthouse and 17.7 on West Lighthouse. We are not changing the footprint. This building has existed since the mid-50s. Now, all of the owners here, they're all residents of Kismet. We all own homes in Kismet. Now, I've submitted a package to you, and this is where we're going to get into the section 267B of the town law. The package that I submitted includes the Article 78 decision, which I would hope you suggest you read, because it gives a good history of what has occurred. It gives a good explanation of what Kismet is, and a decent explanation of why I am here today, asking for this relaxation. The CNRs were put together after our zoning hearing, or during our zoning hearing, with the input of a lot of the neighbors. We gave up many things, and we gave them as much as we could comfortably give, and the town approved us. The next part of my package is a letter from Mr. Netter. Jim Netter is a realtor. He is here today to talk about the effect on the values of the neighborhood. I also have Joe Clemens here today, if there's any questions about the design of the project. And we have photos, and the photos is what I want to go over, because that kind of gets into section 267. Photos that were submitted, if you look at them, the first one is looking north, what the complex looks like today. There are very few homes in Kismet today that have this type of elevation, which is approximately, I believe, 10 feet. 14 feet, 14 feet. The next photo is a view to the west. Now, all of the homes on West Lighthouse have this view. The views of the lighthouse, the views of the wilderness area. It's a tremendous view. The next photo also is a view to the west, showing one of the houses that used to be called the Helm House. Now I think it's owned by Richard Thomas, who happened to be one of my clients. It's also a view to the west. Those elevations there are in the low 30s. The next photo is a view looking north into the Great South Bay. Every home on West Lighthouse towards the bay has this view. Photo after that is a view east. Now, viewing east, you have the dive restaurant. You have the Mooney home, all the way in the background on the far eastern part of our little community. You have the bulkhead condominiums, two stories or 2.5 stories, depending on how you look at it. There's not much of a view looking towards the east. The next photo is a view of the Botel with 3 homes behind it. Each of those homes has elevations in excess of 30 feet. You have the Helm House, and you have 2 others that are right behind the Helm House. The last photo I submitted gives you an indication of what Kismet was and what Kismet has become. Those 1-story flat roof homes, which are similar to the Botel, is what existed in the 40s and 50s. Behind those are some more recent homes built in the last 20 years, 25 years, and they show elevations in the low to mid 30s. Okay. Next part of my package that I've submitted are letters that have been written in the past for our prior hearings in support of this application. And if you look at one of the letters, I believe it's from Mark Gilmore, he was against the change of zone, but he was in favor of the second story. I found that quite unique. I now want to get into the section 267B town law requirements. Does it create an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood? Clearly, the change is positive. Our change has attracted families. It has attracted not the yahoos that used to show up or that show up in the grouper homes. If you know Kismet, there are still several homes which attract 15 to 20 people per weekend. This is not one of them. Unfortunately, the house next door, called the Octagon House, advertises that they can sleep up to 24. The owners have managed this place as they promised. They've improved it as they have promised, and they maintain it as they have promised. It is, I got to tell you, living so close, I thought it was empty for the last 2 summers, and yet it was full. So clearly what has changed, will change with this addition, will be a positive. One of the letters indicates that the family used to be there with, I think, 6 or 7 people packed into a little tiny room. The studio apartments have approximately 350 square feet. The second story is only a bedroom. It will not have any plumbing. It will not have a kitchen. It will not need any additional units. It will make it more family friendly, which is what they have been attracting in the last 2 years.
I'm still trying to find out why we should grant, I think they're 40 and 45% relaxations.
But I'm going to emphasize, Mr. West, we're not changing this footprint. The footprint has existed since the 50s.
But you're going up.
We're going up. And if we brought the second story in 7 feet on each side roughly, I don't think we'd be here today.
Why not?
But because it would then comply, the second story would comply with the existing, with the current zoning of 25 foot.
I know
setback.
you've been to the zoning board often, and you know your subject matter, and you know Kismet. I've seen you in Kismet. Now, my question is, I cite our former chairman, Mr. Shire, who used to aptly say, if you can comply, you should comply. So you just answered the question. You can bring it in, and then you don't need us. Why won't you bring it in at the second floor, and then you don't have to even talk to me?
If you look at the location, which stretches from East Lighthouse to West Lighthouse, on East Lighthouse, what you have next door is the ferry docks and the restaurant, the dive restaurant. This is transitional zoning. Transitional zoning would seem to allow that. You're not going to affect the views, whether or not on West Lighthouse, you bring it in 7 feet, we'll bring it to the end of the existing footprint. It's not going to change anyone's view.
But we're often cast in the position of it's hardship. It's not quite 40% or even a little more relaxation, but they cannot comply. You can easily comply. You're building it. Just build it to comply. And it's not as though, Mr. LeCarry, you're asking us for 5 or 6 or 10, 8%. You're asking for a 40% relaxation when you can comply. I'm still trying to find out.
Agreed, on the side yard, but if you look at the FAR, we would be allowed, I believe, 40% FAR if we were allowed to expand the footprint, which obviously we're not doing, but, you know.
I mean, I get that you can do that, but I still am trying to figure out why you can't comply. You'll have your turn, but you just have to wait a second unless you want to acknowledge whoever this gentleman is. So again, I'm just trying to find out why you can comply. It hasn't been built yet. It's not a physical impossibility.
Nothing is physically impossible.
This is very possible. You just build it to comply. I'm still trying to figure out why not.
Dimensionally, it's going to add to the improvement of the community, in our opinion, as a whole.
How does that add to the improvement of the community of Kismet? I know Kismet very well. How does, by not complying, add to the benefit of the community?
Complying with the current zoning ignores the fact that you have a footprint that has that 17.
On the first floor, you want to go to the second floor, and we're always cognizant when people go up, it increases the bulk, the mass. I was taught that a long time ago. So what is the overriding reason, unless you don't want to tell me?
No, it's aesthetics, and we're trying to create there's 10 units that are.
You're trying to maximize the units.
We're going to maximize, it's maximized anyway, because people are going to still come there. It's going to be a more comfortable situation for families that want to stay there. My daughter stayed there when we had our wedding 2 years ago at the Dive Restaurant. And I've had numerous friends stay there. They all say the same thing. Why can't we have a second-story bedroom, which would allow us to have our family downstairs and us upstairs?
I understand. I still don't think that supersedes that. I think that's, now you were giving us 267B.
Well, I'm starting, that was just the first one of 267. There's 5 elements.
The benefit sought may be achieved by other methods. You can achieve the benefit by another method, by
If the board
complying.
makes the decision to cut us back, I would certainly respect that.
You have no choice.
I don't have any choice. This is correct. This is true. But let me go through my
Absolutely.
other thing. But thank you, Mr. Wex. I appreciate it. The benefits sought, that's number 2, obviously can be achieved by some other source and some other way. And our position is it cannot because of what our intentions are with the property and what the type of clientele we're trying to attract. Is the variance substantial? That's in the eye of the beholder. Our position is that this footprint exists. As I pointed out with the photos that you all have, the views are not affected, will not be affected on the West Lighthouse homeowners where their view is to the west and to the north. And in connection with that, I'm asking for a reasoned judgment as to whether or not this nonconformity is too great. And obviously, that's within the scope of you guys.
All of our judgments are reasoned.
Yes. Well,
Maybe not according to the Article 78 court, but according to
but
us.
again, I just urge you to read what was been presented there. The next item would be whether or not it has any adverse effect on the environment, traffic, dust, noise, odor, emergency services. The answer to that is clearly no. Fire department and the Kismet Community Association have stayed neutral on this. We do practice in the fire department. We have taller ladders now. I'm in the fire department. We have taller ladders that can reach some of these elevated homes right now that go up to 35 feet. And the last item is this, the difficulty that is self-created. It's not a hardship that's created. If it is a self-created difficulty, that in and of itself is not a bar to this application. Again, the benefit to the applicant versus the detriment to the community. I don't see the detriment at all to the community in light of the photographs that have been submitted, in light of the prior decision on the Article 78. And if you get right down to it, the Botel, as it's called, as it exists, if you look at those photos, the last one particularly that shows the Botel and some of the homes along West White House, the Botel is an anachronism of old Kismet. The improvements, the additions that we're proposing really does represent the gentrification of Kismet as it has become. When I came out there in the early 90s, it was still a bit of the Wild West, and all the groupers started buying homes. My home was a grouper home. We got rid of the groups. We have families there. We have a new park there. We have tennis courts. We have the co-op, the Camelot co-ops down near the ocean. It's attracted a different clientele. It seems that the Yahoos that still exist are in the grouper homes, certainly not in the Botel.
What's your definition of a Yahoo?
Yahoo, the young, wild, and crazy groups that party until the last furry leaves and don't know how to get home.
Oh, okay.
We've seen enough of
They
those.
swim, don't they?
They steal bicycles, let me put it that way.
We're
And they
all
go to
Yahoos
Field
once.
5. Okay. My basic conclusions is just please review my package. Consider the benefit to the applicant versus the detriment to our community and the safety of our community. Again, the existing footprint is not being changed, cannot be changed. As Article 78 does point out, if we did houses there, we would be up to 35 feet in height, and it could be anywhere from 4 to 6. This is a 40,000 plus square foot lot. Zoning there is 6,000 square feet. We know we have to comply, and this is going to be an argument down the road, not with you guys. We have to comply with Suffolk County, the health department. We know we have to comply with that's the wastewater management. We know we have to comply with the DEC. These are issues that are dealt with at the next level, which would be once we submit plans.
This is like eating yesterday's leftovers compared to dealing with that.
Yeah, that's true. I do understand the concerns of the neighbors, and I do respect their concerns. But I respectfully request that you consider this application as a valid and good application for the community and for my clients. Thank you. I have Jim Netter, or I have a list. Mr. Netter is going to talk a little bit about the values and how it's affected with the improvement. And I do have Joe Clemens here if you have any questions about the architectural and the renderings. Just so you know, the renderings that we have here is from the planning department's advice, suggestion, and consent. There are several renderings that were submitted to the town, including the flat roof option. Planning wanted to see a dimensional building with the gables and reverse gables. So that was another possible issue that some of the residents may have.
But let me just ask you, I appreciate you bringing the rendering. When you're talking about changing the nature and character of the neighborhood, you Mr. LaCarrie, and I know you know that area, you said, well, that's the old days, that was the nature and character. I mean, I know Fire Island, having lived there, and I still think the nature and character of Kismet is laid back yahoos, using your
Well, I
term.
gotta
It's
tell you,
still
the
very
Yah-
laid back. I mean, that was the huge isolate place.
I know, it's a base place, and the Yahoos are
So,
really,
But
from the
doesn't that
ferries.
change the nature and character from this kind of, again, since you brought it up, this sleepy one-story boatel with a flat roof to this
well,
not only double-sizing it, you're then putting a roof, you're gabling the roof. I guess you're putting the mechanicals
well,
in the roof.
no,
Is that
there's nothing
correct?
in there's no mechanicals. The roof line was originally presented as a flat roof design. Planning comes in, Sean Colgan, and says, well, we want to see a dimensional roof. It enhances the appearance as you come into Kismet. And
I
that's
never
something,
heard planning require what type of roof.
I'm telling you, I was there.
No,
for
no,
those
I
discussions.
believe you. I've just never heard of planning doing that, but okay. No, and I'm
No.
not questioning you.
But- And then the people that it has attracted, there's families there. It's really become upscale, the people that are going there. The people that were going there were not upscale. There were several units which had, they just packed them in. They're not allowing it. The amount of money that they're putting into this, they don't want Yahoos. I don't want a Yahoo. It's bad enough we have to deal with everybody getting off that ferry who's,
But
looking
none
for-
of these yahoos are Islip residents. Let's just get that.
None of they want?
Are Islip residents. Let's just get
No,
that.
no. All right, anyway, I want to have Jim say a few words, please. Thank you.
Hi, folks, I'm Jim Netter. If you wanted an address, my name's spelled N as in Nancy, Etter. And an address, I guess we would use the Ocean Beach office at 310 Bay Walk in Ocean Beach. So many of you may know that I've been selling houses around here since 1968. And my wife thought it'd be a great idea for me to open an office in Ocean Beach to kind of quiet down myself. I'm amazed at the marketplace. I didn't know that it was going to be as wonderful as it is. And as we're now selling homes in all over the Fire Island, and I'm really surprised at how when the improvement of a home or the improvement of a neighborhood increases the value. And I have some examples where Ocean Bay Park has a hotel now. And in that, we usually weren't selling houses for much more than $1 million. And recently, we've been selling them for $2 and $3 million. We have 2 under contract right now, $3 million, 1 in Seaview at over $4 million. As I move to the west and go all the way to Kismet, and I look at that same kind of a marketplace of the individuals that are moving into the area, I'm looking forward to those individuals increasing just I don't want to say the quality of the individual. I got 2 Yahoos that go to Kismet all the time. My sons, Andrew and Corey, they're 35 and 30 and 21. So I understand what it's like. I've been going to Kismet all my life. I live in Oak Beach, so I understand that. But so the quality of the individuals that are purchasing these homes and fixing these homes, I have an average sales price from 2018 through 2022. So the average sales prices of these homes were, in 2018, the average sales price was $825,000 and the high price was $995,000. I'm going through public records because Fire Island is unique. It doesn't use the multiple listing service. Past president of the multiple listing service. And hey, they just gave me a Lifetime Achievement Award. Pretty cool.
So are you telling us that, in your opinion, building this will increase the value of the homes around it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the reason for me feeling that way is because of the individuals it's going to be bringing in to the Botel. Now, let me also just say that I wasn't involved in the sale of the Botel to the.
How did you miss it?
happens, unfortunately. I don't have any financial interest in it, so I really have no, other than, for someone to say to me. So in 2019, the average sales price was 785,000 with a high of 1.3. In 2020, 797 average sales price. 2021, 970, and then in 2022, 1,015,000. These are all by public records, and these are 6 sales in 22, 19 in 21, 6 in 20, 11 in 19, and 6 in 18. So when I look at the individuals that are renting, and Ocean Beach, Ocean Bay Park, Seaview, Kismet, Fair Harbor, those individuals that are renting are now spending upwards of $15,000 a week. For those with a pool, $12,000 a week, $10,000 a week. This is expensive. So the individuals are more affluent. Isn't that going to help the businesses in the local area, whether it's the Dive or Kismet Inn? And no matter what kind of improvement each and every time. I just live in Oak Beach. The man across the street from me just built a $4 million house. That's increased all of the homes in Oak Beach. I lived there 30 years now. Most of it was all little cottages, just like this. And so is Ocean Bay Park. I'm amazed at the values that are increasing, but it's because of the desirability. Appreciation is created because of desirability. I mean, it's also, it's just so magnificent to live by the beach or go by the beach. But that's how appreciation is created, by people wanting to be there. So I believe that having a quality hotel, botel there is going to bring, let's just say, a higher spending individual, and we're not going to have as many yahoos like my kids. So, and I'm not saying that I don't want my kids to go to Kismet. Maybe you've seen them there. They're relatively behaved. I was one of them because I grew up on the Great South Bay. I believe that the gentleman that we're speaking of and the group that is going to be doing the building is a very respectful individual. I've known him for over 30 years. So if he puts his mind to do something and he makes promises of where he's going to do it, that's what's going to happen. So I appreciate that. That's part of the reason why I'm here, is because of that respect. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you have any questions on the design, I have Joe Clemens. Joe, any questions for Mr. Clemens? We can turn it over to the public. No?
No, is there anyone who wishes to be heard on this application? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Acting Chairman, members of the board. My name is Gerard Glass, 72 East Main Street in Babylon. I'm an attorney. I'm here on behalf of a number of the residents that are the contrarians, the residents that are opposed to this application.
Are they yahoos or are they non-yahoos?
I would venture to guess they would suggest they're non-yahoos.
The what?
Non.
Okay.
So, I heard Tom's very eloquent presentation, and I always appreciate working with him because there is a level of civility. So the applicant, we've given you some written submissions. I want to just kind of focus on a few direct issues that I think you need to look to as a board when considering whether or not this comports with the standards that are set forth in the town law with regard to variance applications of this nature. But before I do that, I want to talk to you about what hasn't been said this evening. There's a big environmental question with regard to this property. Can you think, we've been there, can you think of a more significant environmental location? It's right on the bay. What they plan on doing is doubling the density. So in the report that I've submitted to you, there's a company called Land Use Ecological Services. In the rezoning application to the town board and this board, We've not heard from one environmental expert. And I would think that would be at the forefront, to say, there is not going to be any environmental harm caused by this application.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Glass. That is, I think, element number 4, right? Will it change have an impact on the environmental? But going to build upstairs and have an extra bedroom, let's say they can have 2 people. And there are, I guess, 10 rooms, so that's 20 potential more people during the summer, because we know nothing's going on. Like right now, if you went there, I'm sure it would be empty. How does that impact the environment?
Well, it impacts it in a very significant way, because pursuant to both the state and local regulations, it requires an on-site wastewater treatment facility.
But isn't that the county's issue?
Maybe, but this has got to be elevated. Where on this plan do you see it? Don't you think as a board, when you have to evaluate this very significant issue? It's one of the 5 standards in the village of Belleville, in town.
Wait, can I just time out for a second? They already have permission to go up and expand. We're here strictly for side yards. I mean, we're talking about maybe 1 unit that would be cut. If they centered the second story, they may be losing 1 unit, right? We're not here to relitigate whether they could have a second story or not. This is strictly the 2 side yard setbacks, 7 feet and 8 feet.
I'm mentioning the environmental.
Right, I'm saying, how does that impact the side? How's the side yards impact?
When you go up.
I know, but they can go up. They're allowed to. Supreme Court apparently says that.
So and what decision are you referring to?
I skimmed it. It was in the package.
Judge Riley.
The Article 78 from.
That decision dealt with the issue of standing.
Oh, all right, fine. But the point is, they
No, but
have the approval
but
to
that's a
go
really
up.
significant issue. They never got to the merits of whether they.
Okay, well, the merits of this application right now are the side yards. They have permission to go up. Or if they don't, that's through another board, as is the siting of the sanitary system. We're talking about side
Judge Riley
yards.
didn't say they have permission to go up.
Okay, well, we're here on the side yards for the second story. Whether they have permission or not, that's for someone else to decide at another day, not us.
Let me just follow up if I can,
I'm-
Mr.
I'm
Glass.
just-
Hang on, Mr. Glass, 1 second. If they built, as I suggested to Mr. LaCarrie, LaCarrie and I parried back and forth, if the applicant went in 7 feet-ish on each side, then they comply. How does that change the environmental? It'd be like maybe one less unit.
I think the first issue is an on-site wastewater treatment facility required? If
Yeah,
you're.
that's a planning issue and that's a county issue. That's not in front of us.
Oh, no, it is before you.
No,
I'll
it's
tell you.
not.
Show me in the call.
If you want, if you would like to hear why.
All right,
I can
so-
tell
yes,
you.
please.
So, because I'm sensing that if you're convinced I won't bother.
No.
Let me make my record.
Make your record.
Okay.
No, we're going to ask you the same vigorous questionings that we asked Mr. LaCarrie.
It
He's
feels
still
like
licking
it's a little
wounds.
more vigorous for some reason.
Oh, only because we're talking about things that are, in my opinion, but maybe you can correct me, are not pertinent here.
Well, but it is pertinent.
Okay,
One of the standards, one of your standards is you have to consider the impact on the environment.
Absolutely. But
Okay.
how do you tie the 2 7
that
side yard
expert
relax to
report,
that?
that expert report that you have before you says when you expand this facility, you need to put a wastewater treatment facility in.
Absolutely.
Where is it going to go?
Absolutely. However,
Where is it going to go?
we're not talking about the expansion of the addition of a second story here. We're talking about the side yard setbacks for the second story. They can cut 8 feet and 7 feet off each side of it and make it look like a little pyramid, a little Lego building, and skip this board completely because we're not here to discuss the sanitary system.
Understood.
We're not here to discuss whether they should have a second story or not.
Well, you see, the problem is, and here's where I disagree with you. When they ask you for the variance, you have to consider the environment.
Absolutely.
It's one of the standards.
Absolutely.
They're
But-
they're not proposing something that doesn't require a
Right.
variance.
Absolutely. However, there's 2 issues here. The side yard setbacks do not necessarily touch completely on what you're talking about. Second, where the sanitary is going is completely out of our scope.
So
That's planning and health department.
You see, I completely would disagree with you on that point.
Yeah, right.
If the environmental aspect is something you must consider, then you must consider.
We have to
this.
consider the environmental aspect of the two side yard setbacks. on
As
the
it
second
relates
story, as
to
it
the
relates.
application.
Whether I think this should be a second story hotel or not is completely irrelevant.
So when they come here and go to your board, you've got 5 standards. One of them is environment. My point is very simple. Ask the question, what about that? So what otherwise the view is, well, let them deal with that later. Why would you deal with that piece? How do you fully perform your role?
Here's
as-
how.
as-
You
that's my point.
make the approval conditional upon approval from the Suffolk County Health Department and Planning and Engineering and Site Plan Review. That's exactly how you do it.
So, understood, but it would seem to me that that structure has got to go somewhere too.
It does, and that's the planning
And
department's
according
job.
to the FEMA standards, it's got to be elevated. So my point, which I intended to make very brief, has now dominated my back and forth.
This is my night out.
Come on, mine too, it's it. But is where is this going to go? So I'm just suggesting that this is a
But
question.
none of us are engineers. We're all lawyers.
Okay,
I
who's-
studied engineering, but the world's a much better place. I'm not one. So
Right.
let me just back up. We're lawyers. Where and how much and all of that engineering you need, environmental, and none of us, that's not before us.
But you see, they've got a burden. It's their burden to tell you,
But what
to
we're
show you there is no
questioning, I guess,
environmental impact.
Mr. Glass, what we're trying to find out is by moving 7 feet in, how does that change the environmental?
Well,
What is it?
And if it does, how is that something that can't be dealt with later in
Yeah.
planning and engineering with this approval?
it
If
is-
we do it, which we haven't voted on, being conditioned upon the approval of all relevant government agencies. And I promise you, the health department is going to take a much bigger piece out of you than we are.
Yeah,
And
well, I agree with you.
Theoretically,
So what
are
I
you-
suggest to you, though, very simply, so we can move on to the next point, is that question's got to be asked. That's all I was, the point I was.
Understood.
That
But
question's
also-
got to be asked.
Go ahead.
The building also has got to be elevated, right? There are standards in the memo that I provided to you, in the report from the only expert you've heard.
What
right?
does the planning department say about the elevation?
I do not have the planning recommendations. I'm saying this is a question you as a board should ask.
Well, you know what, can I ask 1 second? Mr. LaCarrie is jumping up. Can you just answer the question? Just
answer
if you
is
can,
that it's
what
less-
does planning say about
Planning says,
elevation?
based upon the appraisals we submitted, that since the improvement is going to be less than 50% of the value of the existing structure, that we can go forward. It does not have to be elevated. Elevation, I've argued this point with FEMA on several other clients, Long Beach and in Lindenhurst. And as long as the improvement is under 50%, I call it the 50% rule, then the building will not have to be elevated. Plain and simple.
Okay, well, okay.
And we
thank
submitted
you,
the
Mr.
proof to be.
Glass,
We submitted
if Mr. LaCarrie is correct, that's one thing. If it's not, that's to the detriment of his clients because they'll run into a buzzsaw with the county.
Fair enough.
So, okay, we've kind of moved beyond
Fair
that
enough.
issue.
So, and then focusing on the issue that you mentioned, and that is the character of the neighborhood. So this structure is 165 feet long.
It
It's
is
built
large.
as proposed. This is going to be, as you've heard from some of the opposition, the wall. That's the concern. It's going to be.
It's going to be what?
A wall.
A walrus?
A wall.
Oh, a wall.
A wall.
Oh,
So this is predominantly, a residential community. I appreciate Jim Netta's testimony about values. I'm not really feeling the whole thing about values. I don't think that's the focus here. He could very well be right on all of those points, and I accept that. But I
Is there
think,
anything that large in Kismet?
so that is what I expected I was going to hear tonight. And I think that the reason we haven't heard it is because I don't think there's a lot of support to say that comports with the character of the neighborhood.
What is the next largest building? I view Kismet as a sleepy, slumbering west end of Fire Island community. I've always viewed it as that. And that was the first questions that I had for Mr. LaCarrie. This is really big. Why can't you move it in?
So, and to the point of alternatives, shrink it is one option, that's a standard. And
But if they shrunk it, they don't need us.
correct, provided they shrink it enough. The other alternative is it's my understanding, and I would like to hear from Mr. Carey as to whether or not there is an adjoining parcel that possibly could be considered owned by the applicant as another possible alternative. I don't know that whether that's been considered. You know, there's a whole history that's in the package that I submitted to you of the prior actions of the board. And it was some time ago, many years ago. I don't know. I've been going this since, you know, my childhood as well. I don't think the community has changed all that much. You know, in terms of, you know, when you pull in there and you see it's still a sleepy sort of community.
I agree.
So I do believe that given the prior decisions of the board, which are before you, that's something else you should look at, because really what they're asking you to do is to reverse yourself. And unless things have changed, why should you do that? I thank you
How
for
do
your
we
time.
determine as a board when a community has gone from a Sleepy Beach community to an upscale ritzy community? How do we make that subjective finding?
Well, I think that subjective finding is supposed to be something you are convinced of by the applicant, and that's the standard that, you know, they're burdened to.
Wouldn't we look to the nature and character of the surrounding neighborhood to tell us what the neighborhood is like?
Yes.
And if the neighborhood is large, 165-foot, 2 floors, that's one thing. If it's bungalows, isn't that something we have to look at?
Yeah, I think it is. I also think that you've got to look at what's commercial, what's residential, and you got to look at other similar sized facilities. Are there facilities that are this big?
And what is right to the?
Well, I
know
think
what
in
it
that you
is,
also have
and
to consider, are there any other parcels even remotely the size?
That's what I'm saying. What is directly to the east of the boatel? There's an establishment there.
Tom?
That's the west. That's the other east.
They have a question.
Yeah. Right. Isn't that a restaurant?
I'm sorry?
Is it immediately to the east? Isn't that the former out?
Immediately to the east is the Dive, it's formerly the Out. The owner is here today. He may say a few words. And one question that.
Let me just
that-
interrupt you. Isn't that a large commercial establishment?
Yes, but also if you go to the east side of town, the bulkhead is substantially larger. It's 20 units or 21 units, 2.5 stories, and it's a big development.
Where is that?
That's on, if you go past the inn, go
Right.
east, you have this
Oh, yeah.
door.
Yep, on the other side.
It's-
Yep.
They have their little marina. I keep my
Yep,
boat
yep,
at that
on the east
marina.
side. Yep,
Yeah.
yep, right.
So that's somewhat of a substantially larger complex, and this is going to be, should we be granted the approval.
Okay. Mr. Glass,
Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
you have, that's all you want to say?
That's it. The rest of it's in the submission.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good evening.
Do we have any other speakers?
Hi, my name is Sean Drum. I have a house on Fire Island, Kismet at 84 West Lighthouse Walk. Drum, D-R-U-M. I'd just like to say a couple words about the side yard setbacks. One of the situations that we have there is we have a walkway, West Lighthouse Walk and East Lighthouse Walk. These aren't roadways like you would normally have on a regular street. They're very narrow, so that brings you even closer together. You're losing all that setback. And I guess at one point I might have been a Kismet Yahoo, but I matured and.
I think we all were.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all were.
But
Mr. Glass was never a Kismet Yahoo.
I think the character of this town, this new building doesn't meet that character. It's obtrusive, it's extremely large, it's a little more than half a football field in size.
But
And
back-
I understand that
I don't want to
doesn't have to do
belabor
with
a
you guys.
point, but as Mr. Nicoli said, if they move it in 7 feet, it's there. We can't stop it theoretically.
Okay, we have to visit that for a second, everyone.
We
because
can
now
stop
Now
it?
you've said it about 20 times.
We can't stop it if they comply.
The first floor is non-compliant. So in my opinion, based on many applications that we've heard, when we hear a house that has a substandard side yard, and they want to put a second story on, it comes to the zoning board, regardless of whether the second story is compliant.
There's no CO on it?
No, there's a CO on it. It was, when it was CO'd, it was a CAA zoning. It's now received its change of zone to GSE to allow it to be a hotel. But so the issue of whether they can just proceed right to a building permit if they cut it in is probably best for the town attorneys, but
No,
we've
but I'm
seen
only
many
saying what's-
applications for
But I'm only
homes.
saying what's before us. That's the calendar
Right,
before
but,
us.
but you've now said a couple of times that if they
But
cut
if
it
they
in,
get,
they
like, so
don't have to be
theoretically,
there.
if they did that, then what would they be in front of us seeking relief for?
Second story addition, because the first floor doesn't comply.
Yeah.
Why isn't that before us now? If the first floor doesn't
Well, it is before
comply,
you in a way. I mean, right? I mean,
if the, why doesn't the first floor comply?
it doesn't meet the 25-foot setback requirement.
Do they have a CO?
Yes.
So it's fine then.
If they have a
If
CO,
you
doesn't it
approve
comply?
But we hear applications a lot. There used to be a provision in the code only in Residence B zoning that said if you cut in the second floor, that the first floor could be non-compliant and you could go proceed. That provision was removed from the code, so we do hear them when they are proposing to cut in the second floor to comply. Yeah. Or suggestion, or ask for an opinion from the town attorney who just left the room. I'm only saying it because you've all said it now several times. And
We like saying.
it's still,
Well, either way, we're still only considering the relief that's in front of us, which is for the second story. Whether that means they have to come back later for more relief, I don't know.
I mean, it's still the board's,
Right. And the footprint's not going to change.
Right.
and it's still perfectly reasonable for the board to say you should come as close to conformity as you
No, I
can.
get that.
Sure.
Right.
We should do this when we reserve.
Yes. So.
I just think it's dangerous for the board to open up this can of worms with the side yard setbacks. And I understand what your point, but it doesn't sound like that point is really relevant because the whole second floor seems to be in question.
It's not, it is, but not here though.
Okay. Speaking of the other large unit establishment in Kismet, the bulkhead, that sits north-south. It's not as large a detriment to views or as obstructive. And when you pull into Kismet, you do see that building, but it's not a wall that you see.
Would this, in your opinion, block anybody's view?
Absolutely.
All right, explain.
Anyone who's on West Lighthouse or East Lighthouse will lose views. Tom LeCarry is going to lose his view.
He doesn't seem too upset about it.
I have a picture of the house, that looks like next door, that's 2 stories.
That's really all I have, but thank you.
Picture of the house that's right next door, that's 2 stories.
Yeah, you guys want to, these are color.
Do we have any other speakers?
How you guys doing? I'm Frankie Bergalia. I am one of the owners of the dive restaurant next door to the Botel. Sure, that's Braggalia. I've been the owner for the last 2 years. I'm just here to pretty much say I'm very for this. On regards to the environmental, obviously that's not what I'm here for. I'm just based here to say that they do run a very professional place. The clientele that does come into my restaurant are mostly family friendly and very respectful. And I think that everyone does benefit on the behalf if they do extend, which will bring more to the great community of Kismet. That's pretty much all that I wanted to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Good evening to the board. I'm the architect, Joseph Clemens, German and Clemens Architecture, 3275 Veterans Memorial Highway, Suite B11, Ronkonkoma, New York, 11779. Yep, CLEMENS. You're welcome. I just wanted to point out, just to clarify, kind of something that was, thank you, was stressed a little bit in terms of the elevations. It was brought before the planning board and town board. It was something that the planning department did want to see in terms of the gables and reverse gables, specifically instead of a flat roof, I guess probably because it was what people were going to see as they were first pulling into Fire Island. And in terms of the addition, in any event you were to propose an addition, I guess, say, on ground level, out the rear, on, I guess not the side, just due to the setbacks. But I would think if you're doing a ground level, it'd probably be more intrusive and intensive to the surrounding areas rather than going up, just for the simple fact that they are close to water. You'd likely have to drive piles, and it would probably be more of a process than just going up. Understanding the setbacks and the relief we are requesting, the footprint is indeed there. It is what it is. It kind of speaks for itself, but I just wanted to clarify that, just because I do think if they were to do any type of ground level additions, it probably would be more intensive or intrusive to the surrounding properties.
Good evening. My name is Dwayne Dessou. I'm the owner of the Botel, one of the owners. My two partners are here, Eddie and Paul Major. D-I-E-S-U. First name is D-W-A-Y-N-E. First of all, thank you very much for hearing the concerns. And I've heard the concerns for a couple of years now, and I've taken a lot of them into consideration by lowering the height of the building. My family is fourth generation Kismet, and I have a house on Kismet as well, 169 Pine, which is right next to the big building on the other end with the 20 units. I actually own one of those units as well. And my view is obstructed, and I understand that. I accept that. I also have right next to me a Margaritaville, which is 8 units and no control of the occupancy. So basically, I don't want to take too much more of your time. I know it's getting late. My objective was to buy this property to preserve the property. This is a full acre of property on Fire Island, which is pretty much non-existent. My second is to make sure that it doesn't have a major impact on Kismet. I've given up having restaurants on this property. I've given up any further expansion after this top floor. I preserved the space that's behind it. I have a 120-foot backyard behind it, at least behind the property. That's pretty much unheard of, okay? The existing building is the existing building. I considered what we were doing to be the least impactful. What was explained to me, which I think Mary just reiterated, which was explained to me originally, was that no matter what, since the building is since 1955 when it was built, is out of conformity, that I have to go for a variance no matter what. So that is why, for the aesthetics of the building, we went straight up. If the board was going to, I think that would be the best thing. If I was going to go backwards, like Joe said, I'd be driving piles into the ground and taking more of the ground space up of the property. It is absolutely a beautiful property. I'm very proud of it. All we're doing is right now we have a 300+ square foot area. We have a bed inside the living area of that particular room. We want to take upstairs and put a 200+ square foot area to put that bed that is downstairs upstairs, okay? So if you all go on vacation, I'm looking for people to stay for weeks, okay? We have a 3-day minimum. We have a lot of restrictions on the property. You have to be 25. We don't want yahoos, and we all want maybe, I don't know. But, we are not looking to expand the capacity of the people. But if someone goes away, if you go away with another couple, do you want to be sleeping in the same room as that person? No, right? Well, it depends on who it is, but no, you don't want to. If you have children, you may want to stay. So the quality of the people that we've been getting at the Botel for, a fee is really good. And honestly, I got involved in this not to capitalize on as much money as I could. I could have, after I bought this particular property, I could have sold it for $500,000 more to the people that own the beach house down in Ocean Bay Park. And I elected not to do that along with my partners. So we felt that this is the best, the least impactful way to expand this building, to add a bedroom, to take the bedroom out from downstairs to put up. So that is really it. And I do appreciate your time. And like I said, my wife is here, my daughter is here. I have friends here that support. I'm sure you got a lot of letters. I hope that wasn't a burden reading, but someone that from the other, it's a couple of people that I guess were the people that the other gentleman was representing. They wrote letters, so they sent out an email to write letters. So I asked concerned people of Kismet to write letters. I thank you. I hope I didn't take too much of your time. I appreciate your consideration on the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? make a motion to table the decision?
Yes, yes. I make a motion to reserve decision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It would be totally obvious that anything that is required by the DEC or the wastewater management would obviously, like you eloquently said, would be definitely done, of course. Thank you.
All right.
I'm only concerned if there's relief that's not in here. Coming back.
You get it.
Who seconded that motion?
Yeah,
I did.
yeah. Mary,
Mary.
executive, you'll have to explain this to us.
Yeah.
Are those new shoes? Look at
I
you.
got them in Sweden a couple
Yeah.
years ago. and
There.
I'm just not into heels anymore. Yeah, we have a couple
If,
things.
Mary, I have a question for you. If this,
Good night. Good night, everybody. He didn't say it. He forgot to say it. He was going to use his Latin term. Go ahead, tell Bill.
Of course they.
that's Latin for it is what it is, right?
Let's have some renewals.
Mine is, here's your diploma.
Yeah.
Just stay with us so we can meet in those three cases.
Yeah, right.
You don't vote on it.
So long, Tom. I'm sitting up.
No, we're still on, we're still on. How many, Joanne? I didn't even know.
14 accessory apartments
Make a motion to grant the accessory.
Second.
and 10 two-family units.
10 two-family use homes.
Yes.
Yes.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then we have two cases that were formerly reserved to read into the record. No, I know. You know what? Yeah. Okay. Application number 893-18. Antonio and Lisa Lorenco. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated January 24, 2023, the application is granted as amended on motion of Chris.
Motion, second.
Carried by a vote of 3-0. Application number 749-22, Lawrence Tamina. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated January 24, 2023, the application is denied with regard to the carport and granted as to the driveway. On motion of,
Motion, second.
all in favor? Carried by a vote of 3-0. That's it. Right.